best-selling novel by Iceberg Slim, hottest black writer in the world today. The real gut story of the ghetto. It's bras, it's dudes, and high rollers like Blue Howard, the slickest con man of them all.
Tonight, I'm drinking to the suckers, God bless their greedy little hearts. Because without them, where would us hustlers be?
Yeah, okay, this is us, everybody. Hi, here we go. This book is called Trick Baby by Iceberg Slim. So this book is his second book. It came out in 1967. There was a movie that they made after it that came out in 1972 that I saw, years ago. And this book is about a cat named Johnny O'Brien who goes by the name of White Folks because he looks white. He's described as looking like Errol Flynn with blonde hair and blue eyes. Even though he's black, like his mother is a light-skinned black woman, his father is some Irish tramp who played the drums and didn't come home one day. And the kids in his neighborhood, since he's so white, called him Trick Baby, implying that his mother is a whore who got pregnant by some white trick. All right, the story is the story of a con man. In Iceberg Slim's autobiography, he talks about it as if he was such a good liar that he really should have been a con man instead of a pimp. In a sense, it seemed as though in this book, Trick Baby, detailing a con man's life, he's opening up bits of himself that he couldn't quite directly say in his autobiography. Things about what it's like to spend your life lying. It's a good read, it's a fun read, but when it was over, I had that same fast food feeling, there wasn't anything left to think about when it was over. It was so fun while I was reading it that I was like, oh man, I can't wait to read The Long White Con, which is the sequel to this that came out in '88. But then when I finished the book, I was like, I'm not gonna read that book. There's no reason for me to go and check that book out, so. Okay, the book begins with white folks, or with Iceberg Slim in jail for, that's how the last book ends, with him in jail. And then when he's in jail just by himself, he gets celled up with some white guy, comes and he's like, who the heck is this white dude? They're probably trying to get some secret out of me as to how I escaped this prison the first time. And he's like, he starts to ask about the white guy a question like, well, who the heck are you? The only white people I know are cops or snitches. And he just gets all hurt. He's like, I'm actually black, man. White Folks is only in for a 10-day bit. But in that time, he gives Iceberg his whole life story, and that's what this book is. Anywho, I'm gonna roll through the events of the story pretty quick, just burn through it. So head over to this selection so you can hear the actual, how I feel about the book as a whole and all that. Yada, 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 ba-da-ba. Alrighty, so it starts off with them having a celebratory dinner because they did some con where they sell fake jewelry to some guy. But then this cop who's notorious for beating the crap out of / killing grifters rolls up on them real smooth like, hey, you guys wanna hear a story? You guys ripped off the biggest drug dealer in the city and he's gonna freaking kill you unless I don't let him. So how are you gonna make that happen? They con him, giving them a little bit of time to run out of town. They meet some crazy, street preacher who Blue is White Folks' mentor. He's 60 something, and at this point in the beginning of the book, before it flashes back to the beginning of White Folks' life, he's 35, 37-ish. Blue is 67, something like that. He's black, White Folks is white, so they can play a wide variety of cons on a wide variety of marks. Anyway, they con the crazy preacher guy, letting them lay low at his spot. And Blue is trying to connect with this broad that he, I guess, married, but she doesn't like Blue. She's just conning him. That's kind of, how it is. Everyone's a sucker for something, right? Anyway, they lay low, and then White Folks flashes back to his beginnings as a little youngling. His dad played in a band, played drums, and got his mama pregnant, and they low-key married, but then when his dad's family was like, he married a black girl, they chopped that real quick. Well, he's 16 or something, he's tall, he's 6'3", he's looking good, yada yada. And his mom is just kicking back on the sauce, and she's older, she's not so pretty anymore, but She still gets plenty of business down at the cabaret, and he normally walks her home at night. And he can't really deal with the amount of mounting implications that his mother is like turning tricks at this cabaret. It pops up every now and then. He finds like someone draws a dick under her picture, and she's in some kind of like drunken fugue state talking about if you're black, get way back. If you're white, and that's all right. And he freaks the F out. He never really, deals with it. He just buries it like normal people do. He doesn't go to walk her home one day and then she gets drugged, and then a bunch of all the black people that she spurned all run a train on her in some hotel room, and she wakes up with just bunch of splooge everywhere, and she loses her freaking mind. Literally, she loses her mind and she's just not okay. She goes to some nut house. And so Johnny has to fend for himself. Kind of fails at street life for a while because he thinks he's black, but he's actually white of skin, you know what I'm saying? So he should act white if he wants to, live in the surface world. You would have to live a lie in order to fit in and be cool. And someone says that when he's at the pool hall, some old fool's like, I've never seen someone stupid enough to try to pass for black before. He runs into Blue, who needs people for his con, conning people at some carnival game. He's working for the Italians. They link up together and yada yada, and Blue lives in a nice house and they learn the whole con games. And to be honest, the rest of the story is just melodrama, like a melodramatic blur of stuff happening to people. It's fun. As it was going through, I was like, oh, these are fun little con adventures. It's written really, really funly. But when it's over, it's just like, whatever. Well, the entire book I was waiting to get back to present day, and it wasn't until like 80% of the book where I was like, this is really it. This literally is nothing like the movie. So the other thing that happens that's of importance is white folks meets this chick who's like married, and he like starts to mac her, but she's a coquette and he doesn't really know how to handle that. Also, she's mad racist, like crazy racist, and Johnny's trying to be cool about it, but he really can't. But also, she's so hot that he just kind of lets it slide. He's like, I'll fix her. This is his whole thing, which is super hilarious. And he ends up getting her pregnant. He meets her folks, and they start talking this wild conversation about how to keep the black people down. Johnny straight spits in the old man's face, and then he goes and tells the girl that he's black and she has a black baby in her tummy, and then that's that, and he feels bad about it, and like a freaking mark, he tries to get back in touch with her. So he finds out that she's in Cleveland, so he just decides to pick up and go to Cleveland for a while, and he doesn't really do anything. He just gets drunk. I guess alcoholism just goes nuts. He's an alcoholic, his mama. And so he just gets like super twisted. He's having nightmares and stuff, and he just kind of starts looking for her, but eventually he just starts drinking and stuff in his hotel room until he runs out of dough, and he can't remember what he did for like the past month or two. The years fly by, he gets older, and then you do the con, and then Blue's girlfriend sets him up so that Blue dies, and then gets caught up in jail, and in jail he meets Iceberg, and that's where he began the story. And then he takes a dump one day, and Iceberg's like, well, what are you gonna do when you get out? I guess I'll meet Blue's old partner and just be white, I guess. The end. Honestly, pretty fun read. It's just now that it's over, I feel like, that's it. It's just a fun read. I mean, I like these hood stories, but when they're over, they're just yarns, man. They don't teach me anything more about what the medium of literature can do. You know what I mean? Books like that, they kind of scare me, but they're what I remember the most. So anyway, there's a really good sense of like understanding con games. Like there's a lot of like explanation of how being a con man works. The entire time throughout this book, I felt this anxiety that I couldn't believe anything that anyone was saying. Nothing's being checked, nothing's being verified. It's just people telling other people things. And there's no way that I can just believe that off top. So I just the entire time I'm like, is this true? Is this real? Not to mention that Johnny's freaking telling the story, and you know, throughout the book, for no reason, he'll just say, and that's the God honest truth. And I'd be like, well, why did you say that? Now I don't believe you at all. But that never came to anything, and that is what I think is what deflated me the most about this book. There are things that were presented and never meant anything more. Like Johnny's nightmares, they seem to be like a foreboding, and they never like came to a head. Especially after he broke up with his girlfriend, he would have nightmares of her parading him in front of her white friends or in front of just white people, and having them all laugh at him while he's stark naked and like breaking apart. And nothing of that nature ever happened. They never met each other ever after they broke up, and I felt like, well, why did you have this buildup if there is no, payoff? But I don't think, when it's over, I think, that's just not what it's for. It's just a picture of a side effect of alcoholism, I suppose, and that's all it has to be. Also, like, one of those paradigm shifts of like, oh, maybe this entire story was a lie. Nothing like that ever came about, especially since there was this big like red flag in the beginning of this book, where in one of the many scenes where Blue and white folks are just on the bed talking to each other, there's one point that I marked here about one of Blue's old pals, Dirty Red, going con crazy, he said. I said, Blue, what did you mean about Dirty Red going con goofy? He said, conning is lying. Red lied for 40 years. Finally, his brain was so twisted and poisoned by lies that he couldn't tell the difference between a lie and the truth. I was his partner, but he reached a point when I couldn't hold a conversation with him. Everything I'd say to him, no matter how innocent and commonplace, he'd blow up and stay mad for days. He thought I was lying to him, that I was making a fool out of him for kicks. I had to cut him loose. At the end, he was dangerous. I was afraid of him. Nobody will play with him now. He tapes his right arm to his side and begs for a living. He bums around 51st Street. Folks, what happened to Red can happen to anybody who lies for a living. And I was thinking, so if he got con crazy, it sounds like he doesn't trust Blue. Not that he doesn't trust anybody. Maybe he caught Blue in enough lies, And the entire time, Blue was just talking, and there's nothing to verify what he's saying. So the entire time, I can't tell anything. I'm like reading through what appear to be, 2 or 3 layers of lies, and I guess I'm the con goofy one, man. That never amounted to anything, and I was just noided out the entire book, and for no freaking reason. Yeah, I guess we're done here. Bye, kids.
You know what the most dangerous thing in America is, right?